Masks and puppetry. Puppetry began thousands of years ago. So long ago, in fact, that historians cannot agree on the exact beginning. We can imagine that centuries ago the religious leader, shaman, created shadow stories using the cave walls as a stage. During dances around the campfire, jaws of animal skulls might have been made to move as part of primitive chants. We do know that some form of puppetry exists in almost every culture. In most cultures, puppetry is found in the religious rituals or celebrations. Early puppets were used by male adults, not females, and often were buried with people in ancient tombs. The various styles of puppets have mixed together as civilizations, cultures, and religions have merged and migrated. In many lands, the puppeteers were, and many still are, ranked as very important people in society. The earliest written documentation of puppetry can be traced to India. The Mahabharata, an ancient Hindu epic poem composed about 200 BC, refers to string-controlled puppets or marionettes. In Indonesia, the rod puppet, or wayang golek, was used to tell the story the Ramayana, as well as to tell the Mahabharata. Authorities tell us that in India it is possible the puppeteer preceded the actor on stage, since religious beliefs of the times did not allow impersonations by humans. Ancient Indians believed that if you pretended to be someone else, or if you acted out the role of another human, you were foreshadowing your own death. In ancient Greek literature, references are made to marionettes by several writers. A Greek writer, Xenophon, tells of the visit of a traveling Greek puppeteer to the home of an outstanding Greek leader named Callias. Xenophon mentions that one of the guests who was not interested and would not pay attention was the Greek philosopher Socrates. In the 4th century BC, Aristotle compared man's control of marionettes to the controller of the universe. Other noteworthy Grecian writers, Apuleius, Galen, Plato, and Horace, each compared marionettes to men and men to marionettes. The string puller, Parthenos, performing in the Greek theater of Dionysus, was the first puppeteer referred to by name. Puppetry and other theatrical entertainment were well established in Rome by 400 BC. As the Roman Empire began to decay, so did the quality of theater. Christianity, which at that time opposed the theater, began to spread rapidly, and by the 5th century the actors were attacked by church councils and forced to wander into the countryside with their shows. Many ventured into other parts of Europe. It was these strolling players who kept theater, including puppetry, alive during the period called the Dark Ages. African mask puppets. Puppetry in Africa is art set in motion. Through the use of music and dance, masked performers became human puppets. The colorful animated performances are part of life for the entire community. Entertainment, religion, education, and celebrations are all enhanced through this living art form. In West Africa, in the Ségou region of Mali, improvised puppet plays are performed by the young men of the Bamana and Bozo tribes twice a year, during the planting and the harvest seasons. The puppeteers wear large character puppets that cover their bodies completely. These large wood and cloth puppets form a moving stage, from which smaller rod puppets are manipulated. Young female members of the tribes assume the less important roles, performing as musicians and dancers. Puppetry in Africa is not performed just for the sake of entertainment. It also offers a way for tribal members to share, without fear of criticism, controversial ideas and opinions that are usually forbidden by individual members of the society. Masks and puppetry in America. There were puppeteers in America long before European settlers came. The first puppeteers were the Native Americans. The string puppets used by the Northwest Coast Indians and the Hopi Indians of the American Southwest developed from masks. These puppet styles were used long before puppetry from other countries would migrate to the American shores. The Spanish explorer Hernando Cortés, 1485 to 1547, was accompanied on his voyages by a puppeteer. This puppeteer may well have been the first known puppeteer to arrive on this continent when Cortés conquered Mexico. In 1738, an English-style marionette show, The Adventure of Harlequin and Scaramouche, was performed in New York by a puppeteer named Holt. During the 18th and 19th centuries, immigrant puppeteers brought their European and Oriental puppetry skills with them to the New World. Soon the exciting Punch and Judy show, so popular in England, was seen on American street corners. Punch, the forerunner of today's circus clown, aimed his humor at the political problems of the day. Speaking as a puppet, Punch was able to voice opinions that most people were afraid to express in public. An early American puppeteer, Walter Deves, gained international attention. One of his tours around the world lasted for 7 years. Deves is also credited with creating the complicated puppet theaters that fit upon the live theater stage. His vaudeville puppet shows of the late 1880s were among the favorite entertainments. But interest in puppetry waned, and puppetry was almost a lost art by the early 1900s. In 1915, Tony Sarg, a talented illustrator of books, moved from London, England to New York City. He began to create puppets and to entertain his friends. It was Tony Sarg's creativity and talent that strongly influenced the art of puppetry in the United States in the early 20th century. By 1933, Tony Sarg's famous puppets were seen by more than 3 million people at the Chicago World's Fair. As early as 1939, the medium of television enabled puppeteers to share the art of puppetry with the entire world. Puppeteers such as Burr Tillstrom and Bill Baird, along with their puppets, were among the first to join the ranks as television personalities. Later, Sherry Lewis became one of the first female puppeteers to appear on television. And of course, many of us grew up watching Jim Henson's Muppets on Sesame Street.